Welcome to the Fasting Podcast, Wow, Wellness and Optimal Weight. I'm your host, Julie Phillips, certified natural health professional, bringing you episode 146, Major Insights on Itchy Pets. I will start by saying I am not a licensed health professional, including I am not a veterinarian, but I'm going to share some very valuable input that just obtained recently within the last month, and then you can do your own homework, check with your own veterinarian, do your own research, and make your own decisions. So I'm going to start with symptoms. The pet, let's use a dog in this example, scratches excessively, licks the paws and other areas, especially around the buttock area, may hit the ear with the paw and then lick it, possible bald spots from doing all the biting and the licking and itching, some sores possibly, hot spots they might be called, even sometime to the point of drawing blood because the area is so itchy. And clearly the pet is suffering, as is the owner. And the owner might be spending money on special shampoos, conditioners, wipes, sprays, creams, coconut oil, probiotics, enzymes, because those are important, and they may bring some temporary relief. The vet may prescribe pills for yeast overgrowth candida. This is a very important topic. We've done an episode on this in the past for humans, explaining that the yeast is secondary to the true problem, an allergy of some sort. The vet was correct. These finally work, the pills, close to the 14 days they will last, but then backsliding after the pills are gone and the itching again. So frustrating. Friends with dogs for years explained that a Cytopoint injection does not harm kidney and liver like some of the other injections, and they say it works more naturally with the body's immune system. You would suspect, to get to that main root cause, what kind of real allergy could there be? One of the things you would, of course, suspect would be food and treats. Well, one would not suspect the food if it's been working great on the pet for years. After the pills are gone and the backsliding, try the Cytopoint injection, since the vet said that in the past 5 or 6 years, no pets that he administered it to had a bad reaction, and all of them worked within the first 24 hours. Very encouraging, so sounded like it was worth a try. So within a few hours after the Cytopoint injection, discovered, shockingly, that the dog's food, called Blue Buffalo Wilderness, had added grains back into their previously grain-free formula. But the fine print now said on the bag, grains without gluten, but still grains. Clearly a poor decision for profit increase. When hit with a class action suit, the company settled out of court to keep it quiet. Meanwhile, the poor dog and human parents have been suffering and spending a lot of money to eliminate the problem to no avail. It surfaced in the lawsuit that one small bowl of the grain-type formula contained more grain/carbs than what a wolf, as their logo and theme of Eat Like a Wolf, would likely eat in a lifetime. Within 24 hours of taking the dog off the food and the injection, which both occurred the same day, symptoms substantially improved and by 48 hours was near normal. Note that there are onesies, which look like little long sleeve shirts like a baby wears, that greatly comforted and reduced the itching during the itching stage. And the vet interestingly said that it was reducing airborne allergens from touching the skin. The dog seemed to really like it a lot, and one would think, oh, well, to keep hair down on a trip in the vehicle, that would also be a nice little thing for the onesie. Well, the vet was right about the yeast candida being secondary to the core problem of grain allergy, the dog could not digest it, and yeast thrive on poorly digested carbs and a lack of probiotics. That's what we taught in humans. There are also many carbs in treats and table or human food, adding to the same problem. So we need to be very, very aware of what we're letting the dog put into his mouth. Dogs aren't built to eat our human carbs or grains. Some treats have something called vegetable glycerin. For example, those that look like freeze-dried chicken and say they're natural. That can be extremely dangerous, especially in the products from China. And it does have a sweet taste, so the pet might really like the taste, but it's not digestible. And some of the information received on this is that even though they call it that, it could be something that could lead to disease or even death in the pet. So really be super, super careful about what you're putting in your pet. So let's talk about some things to learn, and we've got quite a number of these. What would be something to really consider is food that's labeled grain-free, limited ingredients. So grain-free, limited ingredients. We're looking for something that's natural, high protein, low carbs, and not excessive fats. In picking a new food vendor, sometimes there is a veterinarian I know of, a holistic vet, that makes their own food that's really up to snuff with what the pet should be eating. But in reality, a lot of vets are offering things that are not as good as you might want them to be. So you have to do your homework even if you're acquiring food from a veterinarian. So most of these have a little matrix on them that says percent protein is this, percent fat is that, percent fiber, and percent moisture. If you add all four of these together and subtract them from 100%, you might wonder if this example was only, let's say, 25%, where are the other 75% coming from? Could it be carbs? Crazily, one pet store manager thought that the huge difference wasn't carbohydrates, but instead all vitamins and minerals. Right. In other words, why aren't they telling us how many carbs are in the foods and the treats they're providing? Some of the foods have such a very high crude fat content, especially when they have bad fat, that can lead to a pet being overweight. And this is food or treats. To get extra nutrients, personally, I'm in favor of grain-free, natural, with limited ingredients as the choices. And yes, they may have some carbs in them through vegetables, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, or even berries, but these would be called complex carbs. We've talked about that in other episodes, and those can typically be digested while providing nutrients. If you need wet food to give the pet a supplement by hiding the pill inside of it, then you could do a taste test outside of a pet store and buy different ones of these wet food, grain-free with limited ingredients, and see if the dog will taste and like any of them. If you make your own dog food, try to choose natural meat so it isn't full of hormones, steroids, and antibiotics. And if you are going to do homemade, consider some of these extra nutrients to include, and the fact that the pet needs some healthy fats in their diet, like we do, but the dogs and cats are primarily built for protein. The holistic vet taught me, she calls it species-appropriate diet for dogs and cats. Now let's talk about another topic that can cause itching, and that's fleas. Well, fleas can be picked up nearly anywhere, even in a veterinarian's parking area. The vet explained that even one single flea, just one, can result in tapeworms. And these are the white, wiggly worms in the stool, usually less than 1 inch long. There are worm pills to eliminate the worms, and there's some called quad wormers that get 4 kinds of worms, and the vet approved those, but the root cause is the fleas. While vinegar, white vinegar, doesn't work, you could try it, but I've seen 0 success with the white vinegar. Really beware of, the vet says don't use the 7 dust, and check out the major cautions on baking soda, baking powder for pets. I personally would avoid any of those on the pet. And some dogs, there are preventives, but some dogs are allergic to Frontline for flea tick prevention. But even sensitive dogs seem to handle something called NexGard, according to the vet. Again, do your own homework, talk to your own vet, make your own choices. NexGard reportedly kills the fleas on the dog along with the larvae and pupae within 8 hours of the single monthly chew. The itching might be gone within the 8 hours. Wouldn't that be exciting? The house and possibly the yard need to be treated for fleas and bedclothes, pet bed, etc. with blankets with hot water and hot drying, and supposedly 100 degrees and higher may kill the fleas. And then vacuum thoroughly everywhere and dump the vacuum outside. You'll see that when you go to do your own homework. Very difficult. They have special combs to use on the dog that can be helpful when you're trying to deal with the fleas. And you may need to treat again after the eggs hatch, but use a good vet, choose your foods and treats wisely, and choose your human food and treats wisely also. And just say no to itching, because if the pet is itching crazily, there's a big problem. Please share this with other people. Even if you don't have a pet, you know tons of people that do have pets, and this awareness, especially if they're feeding them something like the Blue Buffalo Wilderness dry food, and you go on Amazon and see that there's a whole bunch of excellent reviews saying it took dogs off their allergy because it was grain-free. Now, recently, this change, and they just switch gears, so any of the companies can change their formulas to make more money. So definitely share this with others. Let's make this one go viral. For questions and feedback, contact me, Julie, at jpwowprograms.com. You can check out the website. There'll be slides from this presentation, and please refer others to the overall podcast in YouTube. Stay positive, focused, and determined, because where the mind goes, energy flows.